I've tidied up the wires on the gimbal and it's more or less complete. There's two more things we need to do. That's balance the camera and then set up the brushless gimbal controller. Now the BlackMagic camera here doesn't have a lens on, so obviously you need to balance it with the lens, but I've only got the one lens between this BlackMagic camera and the camera that I'm making this film with, so I've got the lens on my GH3. Okay, so to balance this, first of all, balance the camera fore and aft so that it remains level. Then, if you tilt it and it returns to the level position, then it's not balanced in the up and down axis. So you need to loosen the 4 screws here and balance it so that eventually the camera stays in whatever tilt position you put it. There's plenty of films on YouTube about how to balance a gimbal, but that's how you do this specific one. So you need to balance the tilt in 2 axes, fore and aft and up and down. Then you balance the roll axis so that it stays in position in whatever position of roll you put the camera. Obviously I've done it. When you've done that, you can tighten up the 4 grub screws that hold the roll axis in place. The last axis to balance is the pan, and the pan axis, or the yaw axis, should stay in position however you tilt the camera. So this camera is in balance as it is at the moment. If it spins around when you roll the camera, then the yaw axis isn't balanced. So to balance the yaw axis, you move this the yaw motor forwards and backwards on its 2 rails, and now that it's balanced like this one, then you tighten up the grub screws, the set screws, and now your gimbal should be perfectly balanced and ready to tune your brushless gimbal controller. Now I've put an Alexmos controller on here. I haven't got a clue how to set it up, so I've always used a Storm32, but I'm going to have a crack at that in a minute. There's plenty of videos about how to set up an Alexmos brushless gimbal controller, so I'll be following one of those videos. I'll set it up, and then when I've set it up, I will show you the gimbal in operation and how to use the remote control of the gimbal. I'll show you what that is. That's all set up. The remote control is here. Zoom, focus and aperture, on off record, on off camera. So I will show you that as well when I have hopefully set up the Alexmos brushless gimbal controller. I've balanced and set up the gimbal and I've switched it on. It was a bit of a mission getting the Alexmos brushless gimbal controller to work, because I was not familiar with that particular thing, and it seems to be hugely over-engineered. In the software there's 12 tabs, each with about 100 variables in them. Anyway, I will post with this video the PID settings that I have got. I found that the automatic setup didn't work, at least not for me, until I'd done a rough and ready manual setup of the PID settings. So the PID settings that I post can be your starting point. I've I've posted the 3 screens where I've altered any variables, and if you set those 3 screens to be the same as mine, that'll be a good starting point. The lens I've used to make this video is now on the BlackMagic camera on the gimbal, and I'm filming this with a macro lens, so I'm not sure how successful this part of the video will be, but I'll just show you the gimbal working. I'll take it off the stand. I don't know how much of that's going to mean. You see it's all working, and I've set up a joystick so as I can pan and tilt the gimbal with the joystick. Right, in the next part of the video I'll turn it around and show you how the camera control part of my design works. Right, I've set the camera up. It's a bit of an odd angle so that you can see the screen and the control box. There's not a great deal of interest to see from my so-called studio here, so I've set up a butterfly poster to point the camera at, and I'll just show you how the controls work. First of all, you can switch the camera on and off from the box, so I'll switch it off there. The camera's off, and but the gimbal is still operational. When I want to do some filming, switch the camera on, and you'll see the picture appears. The central knob here on the control box adjusts the aperture. Now obviously the camera is going to compensate with its shutter speed as you change the aperture, so you can choose the aperture that you want for the depth of field that you want. If you shut the aperture down too much, you're going to lose the picture. Because the camera won't be able to do a slow enough shutter speed for that. So just adjust the picture for the amount of light that you've got and the depth of field. Then we've got, if we hold the gimbal, you can adjust the focus with your thumb, doing that there on the left hand wheel. And on the right hand wheel you can adjust the zoom. So I'll just zoom in there at the moment. Zoom in. So I haven't got a very good focus there, so I'll do the focus. And there you are, we've got a good focus. And obviously you can adjust the aperture as well to get the depth of field and so on that you need. And those are the only controls that I've set up for the camera, apart from the record button. That needs to be a single pole latching button switch. When you press it in, it records. When you press it again, it stops recording, and the recording will show on the screen. There'll be an indication on the screen. Now you can record on the camera itself, or in my case I've got the BlackMagic, what do they call it, video assist or something, and that records in full cinema quality, 12-bit depth, HD, which of course the camera is capable of. So it's a very much higher spec camera than most of the consumer cameras that people are used to using on their drones and so on. So it's a good opportunity to get a reasonably cheap but well specified handheld camera gimbal or drone mounted camera gimbal. And And that's about it. Thank you very much for watching my video.